Hi. We were going to work on this as an exercise in class, and kind of realised that it was going to be a bit trickier and that we'd missed a stage which was quite important. It's how you actually establish the heights of the land and the features on a 3D model. So it would have been good just to kind of do the exercise, but I think we kind of need to backtrack and show how you actually generate things from scratch. So if you want to follow along with this, then we would start with this 2D information. So remember, you want to be in your 3D modeling workspace, okay, and generally we'll work in 2D wireframe view, okay, using the shaded versions for testing. Okay, so this is the House T site in 2D. Okay, if I flip that over, you can see we've got no levels changes anywhere. It's all 2D at the moment. But let's just talk through what happens on the site. Draw back a little bit. Okay, so we've got a road here, which we're saying is level in both directions, along the road and across the road, at level 0. Okay, the footpath is generally 125mm higher than a road. Okay, but to get onto the footpath and get over it to park the car, you have to use what's called a dropped curb. Okay, so here the curb is 125mm high, but then it drops to 25mm high where you need to get a vehicle over. Okay, then we're generally at the 125mm level in this area, but you can see there is a ramp, so the ground slopes upwards. So this is a ramp symbol, and it usually points to the higher part of the ramp. Okay, and that's taking us up another 550mm to a level of 675. Okay, there's a protective curb here just to stop any vehicles kind of nudging near the house. So that's 150mm higher than everything that's around here. Okay, there's a wall on this side that's 1000mm higher than this surrounding land. And then there's a building, and I've put in the relevant heights so we can set that out in 3D as well. Okay, so what we'll do first is make a section so we can understand the shape, and we'll use that section to create a solid version of the ground. Okay, and then in the second video what we'll do is we'll make the model in 3D faces so that we can actually define the materials that we want to use. If we make the site as a solid lump, you'll find it difficult to change the material surfaces. So paths and parking and ramp and gravel would all effectively be the same object, but it's very quick to generate. Okay, but a section is the kind of the key thing to have. So let's create a section up here. Okay, so we start off with a datum line. Okay, so we'll just create a datum. Okay, and that is at level 0. Okay, so let's put these heights on as we go. Could be handy. Okay, so the road, let's just draw where we're going to take the section. So I think we'll take it through the ramp. Okay, so let's take it through here, and we are looking in this direction. Okay, let's flip that over to the other side. So we've got a symbol at each end. Okay, right, so we have a curb from here to here. That accidentally drew in an extra line there. Okay, we have what's called the drop curb. Okay, so there's a slope from 125mm down to 25. Okay, so at this point we have the drop curb. We've then got the width of a footpath, and we're still at the same level until we get to this point where we have the ramp starting. Okay, so let's just put these in. Okay, the ramp slopes upwards to this line, where it's 675 millimeters above the datum. And then we run out of plan here, so let's use that as the end of the drawing. So that's just our vertical, just kind of our projections. Okay, so the first change in level is just to 25 millimeters. So offset 25. Okay, and then trim on this side, so the road comes to a very small curb. Okay, and we trim it on this side as well. Okay, and then we're getting up to 125. So we offset the datum by 125. Okay, but we're sloping back down to the dropped curb. So just a gentle slope, so the car tyres come up to here, there's just a small bump, and then you can drive over the footpath. Okay, so we can trim that off now. Right, so we're now at 125 millimeters above the ground, above the datum. Okay, and then we get to this point and we have a ramp which takes us up to a level of 675. So we offset the datum by 675. And so we're sloping from here down to here. So we'll put that line in, and then we can do some trimming. So we'll use this to trim, and that is effectively our sight section. Okay. Now to make it solid, we need a bit more bass. We need a bit of bass here. I don't mean musically bass. So let's make it the same shape as our model, and we'll say that we'll make the base 1000 millimeters thick. So we'll offset the datum downwards by 1000. Okay, so we'll tidy this up now into a shape that we can trace. Okay, so I'm kind of creating an overall kind of model base shape. Trim there, trim there, trim there. Got to be careful here because I'm going to trim my datum, but it's got to go at some point, I think. So we'll trim that off, but reinstate a single line. Okay, now some of these are just changes in direction, so these 4 lines can go. Okay, but here we do need to be a bit more careful. We do need to keep a little bit of vertical line there, but this line isn't needed either. Okay, so if I copy that level onto there, you can understand how this is working. Okay, so it's road, up 25, up another 100 to get to the footpath level, along to here, then up another 550 to get to the back level at 675. Okay, so if we polyline this, if we turn this into a closed shape, we can extrude it. So we'll change to this layer, 3D Site Solid, and then it doesn't really matter where you start, so I'm going to go from here and I'll go anti-clockwise on this. Okay, so it's really important that you do get a closed shape if you're trying to create a solid. It doesn't work with open shape. So when I get to one step before the end, close the shape. Okay, if we extrude it where it is, it's just going to come out of the screen vertically. So what we'll do is twist the model over, or remember you can use the little house icon. Excuse me. Now to rotate this, we need to be facing the drawing from this side or from this side. So that is either the left or the right UCS. And because we're kind of on the left side of the model here, we'll use the left UCS. So X is now in this direction, Y is vertical. Rotations always happen in the XY plane. So rotate, pick on the shape, enter, base point either of these endpoints, or you could use an endpoint anywhere, to be honest. As long as you pick on the object, you'll get the rotation working better. So pick a point, and if I go straight down, the object should be now up off the ground. Okay, now let's put that into position on the model. So I want to move this now from end point, and let's just place it on the corner here. And then if we extrude that, now the extrusion should work, even though the UCS is facing the side of the model, the extrusion should work perpendicular to the object. Okay, so let's just see if it does behave. So extrude, pick the shape, enter. Yeah, so you can see it's automatically just shifted temporarily to be in line with the object. So pick a corner, even though it looks like it's going to be massive, if we pick this corner, that's as far as it'll extrude. Okay, let's check how it looks with a shaded view. So it's looking pretty good, but we've got a dropped curb right the way along, and that's not the way it would work. Okay, so let's go back to a 2D wireframe. Okay, and we would only have dropped curb from this point to this one. So there's a transition that we have to deal with. Now, because we've started with the full drop curb, we're kind of going to have to add shapes back in. Okay, so this needs a bit of kind of cleverer drawing. We need a shape over here to bring this way, and we need a shape at the front to go this way. Let's do the front shape first, and you can see then what will be left over afterwards. Okay, so we'll need a couple of guidelines, and we need to be in the right UCS so that we're looking this direction. So we'll change to the right UCS, things flip round, and we would have a line from here to perpendicular. Okay, but on this side it needs to go up the full 125. So I need to go from here, and I could pick perpendicular to this point. It should. It's going horizontal, I think. I don't think it's going to pick it vertically. So what I'm going to do is just drag, make sure ortho's on, and set the height to 125. Okay, now if I draw the triangle in that we need to extrude, it'd probably be easier to see what's going on. So we need a polyline from endpoint to intersection or perpendicular, and close that shape. Okay, now let's go into shaded view so you can see what happens when we extrude it. So it don't normally work in a shaded view, but it'll work okay for this. So if we extrude that now back to this point, and can you see the way the triangle, we've got this merged shape. Okay, the two are just colliding at the moment, but it's giving us the way that the pavement would have to drop in kind of two directions to get there. So 2D wireframe. Okay, but we've got a bit to fill in over here, which could be another collision. It could be rectangular, or it could be the triangle, the shape drawn on this side. That would be a bit more sophisticated, so let's try that. So we change now to the front UCS, and we want to draw a shape in here. Okay, so it's a polyline again, because we're going to turn it into a solid. Okay, we could draw it actually here. I don't think we'll get an intersection at that point though, so I think it's probably safer here from endpoint, and I'm hovering over here but tabbing to get perpendicular. Okay, go to this position, then this one, and then close. Okay, now this shape extrudes to the shape we drew just a second ago. But before we use it, let's copy it to the other end of the model. We need to use it again, so if we copy this from endpoint to the other end of the curb. Okay, and we need another one of these transition shapes at this point. So what we could do there is either copy it or mirror it. Now, when you're mirroring in 3D, things can behave a bit strangely. So let's go back to the world coordinate system, and then we'll try the mirror. So MI, enter, pick the shape, enter, and we're looking for the midpoint of this line. So if I use shift and right mouse button, I can use midpoint just for a one-off. So I want to mirror using that position there. Drag, I've got ortho on, left click, enter to finish. So very nearly there, just a couple more extrusions. But we know where they need to go. So extrude, pick the shape, enter. Notice the UCS changes to suit the polyline. Okay, and we'll do the same at this side. Extrude this one just to this point. Okay, if we shade it now, it'll look tidy, but it will need joined together really. So we can see the shapes looking okay. Okay, but you would then merge those together. So we union, pick the big shape and the two smaller shapes on this side and the two smaller shapes on this side. They all merge together and it's very tidy. A couple of lines extra here that we drew, we can delete those. Okay, so that's the solid version of the site. So that is, totally legitimate, but it has the disadvantage that you can't change materials. If there's different materials around, it's much more difficult to break that up. But if you're wanting to carve into it, it's very easy. So if we did want to carve the house into that, let's just draw a fresh little shape over the top. So if the floor of the house was at 0, which it happens not to be, but just for example, if we extrude this bigger than it needs to be, but then subtract it from the big shape, enter, pick the smaller shape. Okay, so now we should have a very tidy looking cutout in the site. So you can see, how solids are, very, very useful with that kind of operation, creating quite complicated shapes very quickly. Okay, so we'll call that kind of video 1, and what we'll do is we'll use the section information again, but we'll actually kind of turn this into 3D surfaces. Okay, so I'm just going to move this to the side, and what we need about, say, 30,000. Let's just get it out of view, and I'll stop this video just there and we'll pick up with another one.